彼女を家まで送る。
はい。
待ってろ。すぐ馬車を用意するから手伝ってくれ。
リーゼロッテ、どんな時も私は君のそばにいるよ。
ジークにスリスリと身を寄せた。
無理無理無理。意識がない状態でこれほどの破壊力とはさすがに。
So, I don't know if I've talked about this before, and if I have, apologies. If I haven't, yo, the ED is fire. The ED is a whole vibe. It's not necessarily a bop, but it's a vibe for sure. And I absolutely love the ED. Like, normally I just have it like on auto skip, auto skip mode, or I just close out of the anime. Like, what I usually do is I'll scroll to the end and see if like there's any end stuff, preview for next episode, or a little cute thing at the end of the episode. I'll typically skip the ED. Today, I'm working over here, so it's like I don't really have time. So I was able to listen to the whole ED, and I was like, yo, this is a vibe. I was like, this is a good ED. So I just want to throw that energy out there of Endo and Kobayashi, fire ED. All right, this episode was really, really good. I actually really enjoyed it. Again, I always talk about the really cool ability for Endo and Kobayashi's, for this anime to go back between the two stories of Endo and Kobayashi and Sieg and Lise or Lotte, however you want to call it. And I like how it's always like really kind of swapping. Okay, here's the focus this week, here's the focus next week, and you're not really missing anything because these stories are happening in parallel and they actually do coincide a bit. This week's episode was all about Lotte, and I guess you can call her Lise. I'll call her Lotte. I think this Lotte is cuter, but I'll call her Lise too. But this week's episode is all focused on Lotte, and basically it was all focused about her potentially being taken over the witch. Being taken over by the witch, which is the thing that causes the bad ending if she gets subjugated by it. It's the thing that basically will kind of cause the end or the bad end to the game, where basically the whole kingdom's obliterated and stuff. And I really liked it quite a bit because I really enjoyed the fact that Endo and Kobayashi were continuing on their path of not trying to dictate nor make Sieg have feelings that aren't genuine or there. So like when Lotte was about to succumb to the witch's kind of overtake and stuff, and she was kind of really feeling really self-loathing and questioning everything, he was like, what do I do? Sieg was like, Endo Kobayashi, what do I do? And they're like, we can't tell you. It's like, you gotta trust on what your feelings are and make a choice. And he decided to go and run after Lotte, and basically at the end of it, he decided that, I'm never going to let this woman go. She's more important to me than absolutely anything. She's going to, I would do anything for her, which is a good and bad thing, especially if, something bad happens. He might be very, like, a sacrificial lamb. He might love her to that point kind of thing. But regardless, I am happy that he was able to fully realize his feelings, to reach out to her, to grab her, to kiss her, to hug her, to hold her, all this stuff. He's like, I ain't letting you go. And the overly important thing is we also got a really cool flashback, because Lotte had like a flashback of her as a child, and it was a really sad flashback, and maybe you didn't perceive it as sad, but I perceived it as sad. As originally she, her and Sieg have known each other since childhood, and she met him as a child, and she was really, as most girls are, really into romance and fantasy and fairy tales, and the prince saves the princess, all this kind of stuff, and she was into that kind of stuff too. So when she was introduced to Sieg, she was introduced to him of like, hey, here's the person you're going to marry, he's a prince, blah blah blah. And she had all these fascinations that they were getting along. Well, that all came to a screeching halt when her dad basically told her, in not so many words, not so many pretty words, he basically said, don't get it twisted. You are going to be married to him, but you're going to be a subject. He's going to be king one day. You're going to be a subject. You're going to be subjectified. You're going to be in servitude. You're going to be like his servant. Like, it's not an equal partnership here. Like, she's not going to go be like the queen of the country. Like, you're gonna go do whatever this man says. And he put this image, and I don't think he meant it maliciously. I think he was just trying to like let her know, like, you're not quite up there yet, kind of thing. But when you're doing this to an 8-year-old's mind, 7-year-old, 6-year-old, whatever, however old she was a tiny kid. When you're doing this, they're gonna take that as gospel, and she did. So she began to push him away and say, "I don't like you," and this and that. Like, so she was just always loving him from afar. So I thought that was a really sad story, because he was always pursuing her and kind of felt some type of way of like, why is she always pushing me away? We were so close, and then suddenly like her tune just changed, and you could feel the pain in himself. So I'm glad that now he's kind of realizing this is what's been going on for so long. It's her personality, and you have to read between the lines. There's like all these other things to earn Lotte's love, that he's basically solved the equation here. So I thought that was a really cool thing to see too. Last thing I'll leave off on is I like how the whole situation between Fine and Balder was finally figured out. And the very long story short is Fine, she awoke into her power, which essentially she can hear Endo and Kobayashi now. And we got to a point where she asked Balder, which I thought I really, really liked that scene quite a bit. She asked Balder, like, hey, what would you do if I, like, just didn't want to be this Marquise, anything? He was like, I would take you away from the kingdom. We would be just fine, And I was like, that's the answer. My boy Balder, he went in, too. He's like, I love you more than anything. You're my princess. You're the reason for me to wake up in the morning. You're the smile that draws out the sun. And I was like, God damn, Balder, get it, bro. So I thought that was an amazing scene too, just his love confession to her. Like, what, I wouldn't even know what to do in that situation. Like, someone tell me, like, yeah, you're the reason for the stars to come out and the moon to say hi. It's like, oh my God, I don't even know what to do. So I felt her pain there, but I'm glad that the whole Balder and Fine situation is getting solved. And at least they'll start a relationship, and then they can decide what they're going to do later on. Are they going to flee? Are they going to go become adventurers? Are they going to be the next leaders or whatever? Are they going to give a big to everybody? Like, who? It's going to be interesting to see what they do. But the good thing is they're going to be able to do it together. So I think this was good. So overall, Princess Carrie and all, this was a really good episode. Really enjoyed it quite a bit. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode of Endo and Kobayashi in the comments below. And I will see you, my friends, next week. Peace.